Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RE Screening Podcast. I'm your host, REScreening.com's own Mark Eastman, and with me, as always, is co-host extraordinaire Shane Leonard.
Hello.
And this week, we are actually going to cover a few things.
We don't have any lists. I just realized that
lists.
as you started, I went, man, we are finally caught up.
Yeah, it's a weird time of the year.
Yeah.
So only now, not doing it. But so we're doing The Life of Chuck and The Accountant 2.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we'll probably get to. But before we jump into the show, I did want to mention, first of all, I want to mention that the Fallout series has a new trailer, which is weirdly cool, but it doesn't come out till December, which I think is crazy.
Oh, come on.
No, it comes out in December, but it's funny because I just saw a thing that said like they wrapped.
Yeah.
And it's been renewed for a third season.
That's pretty good.
But like they wrapped now, and it still doesn't come out until December. So there's a reason for that.
Sure.
Somewhere.
And it's not reshoots or anything. It's probably
and it's
effects
and
and
it's
mixing and.
It's not even just effects. And this is just me starting.
Do you know? Oh, you don't know, but you know.
No, but I have a pretty serious suspicion.
What do you?
That it has something to do with things that Bethesda is doing.
Yeah.
So the timing can
match up with the
coincide
release
with
of
something.
Things. Yeah.
And it might not even be the release of anything. It might just be the announcement of something.
Sure.
God knows what. But there's some reason that it takes.
Do you remember?
7-8 months.
Yeah. Do you remember when the first season came? Did they drop it all at once, or was it episodically doled out the way they did like Jack Reacher recently?
Man, no, I think it was all at once.
Because I was going to say you
feel like
it
was all at once.
Release it.
I think I watched the whole thing. Like
I do too.
Really?
Like I didn't watch it. I think you watched it all and was like, man, just make some time for it because it's fun. They released it in October and then one episode a week. The conclusion, they could be like, here's our big announcement.
Right.
You gotta wait till December, man. What a drag. Hey, not to piggyback on that, and if you're still gonna talk about it, I'm sorry, but the only trailer I saw that was exciting, is because I haven't seen the Fallout trailer, the new one.
Yeah.
Spaceballs 2.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, yeah, me.
Nah, yeah, I don't.
Come on. It's probably gonna suck beyond all measure, but
No.
I don't. All right.
I'm not super excited for.
Did you like the first one at all?
I liked the first one in the sense that I was the right age for it at the time.
Right.
And I'm not now. But I will say, I mean, for a screwy piece of fun, the thing that is good about Spaceballs, even though I don't love it, but
I don't love it
fine,
either. It's fun. Right? It's fine.
The thing that is really good about Spaceballs that a lot of movies now learn really is that it knew what it was, and it was that the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't try to be other things.
Yeah.
It didn't try to go different ways.
Right.
It was just like like Airplane or something along those lines.
The good ones, Naked Gun. Just lean into it.
We're just this. Don't think that anything else is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, actually, that bizarrely leads me into.
Oh, good. We don't plan anything
because I was going to talk about Deep Cover.
Got it.
Which just came out, and it is Orlando Bloom and who did I just?
Bryce Dallas
Howard. And I'm totally blanking on the name, but
Deep Cover.
The guy from the guy from.
Just curious, yeah.
Ted Lasso, the British actor who is now like in everything.
Yeah.
Every time you turn around, but it just came out. It's on Amazon.
Oh yeah, Nick Mohammed.
Yeah.
Why do I always forget his names too, and I should. Yeah. Sean Bean. Oh, he's got a pretty good cast.
Yeah, that is a movie. The premise of the movie is that there are these 3 improv comedian people.
Yep.
Bryce Dallas Howard is like the leader of the group.
Oh, I know what this is now.
Orlando Bloom is the actor with like delusions of grandeur.
Right.
Wants to go method on everything.
Poor man's Robert Downey.
Even though what he is he is in this improv group and then trying to get any acting he can. And he's got like a couple commercials or whatever.
Right.
But still, everything is like, he is like so,
Right.
Thinks he's awesome.
Too committed.
And then the last guy, Nick, is like just roped into it. Like
Right.
he kind of just got on this thing. And they get pulled in by Sean being the cop.
Yep.
To try and infiltrate this, drug trafficking gang or whoever.
Right.
And he wants them to go in to like do something totally simple.
Yeah.
I mean, like not to, do anything.
Right.
Serious,
We don't need to do any complex things. Just find an address.
Right. And the idea is that he's putting forward is that, they can think on their feet and they can
improv. Right.
Yeah.
Improv people are supposed to be fast.
Improv, right?
Yeah.
And then hilarity ensues.
Right.
Whatever. It all goes wrong. And that is really the exact problem with this movie. It's terrible, by the way.
Is it really?
There are parts of it.
You gave it a number?
There are parts of it that are pretty fun. Well, actually,
is it like a 3?
I would probably give it like, man, if I'm like on the spot right now, I would probably give it like 3, 4.
Okay, that's still bad. Like I'm not saying 3's good. Like
it's still really bad.
Jeez, that's bad.
But there are some parts of it that are fun.
Yeah.
And it is kind of the sort of movie where if you go, okay, fine, this is the stupidity we're in for.
Right.
Run with it.
Right.
Then
which sometimes can work in a real dull film. Really, it really can be the strength of the whole thing. When it isn't.
There are like some, like clever moments, but what they are is like in scene workings.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help you for your overall movie.
Right.
It's just that you've got like 3 minutes where that was pretty cool.
Right.
But it doesn't translate at all into the bigger picture. There's one part where they are in this, minor criminals like hangout.
Yeah.
And they're in like a theater or something.
Yeah.
And they've taken over like the whole building.
Right.
And then they're trying to run away.
Yeah.
And you go through like the back warehouses and the whatever.
Yeah.
And they keep coming back out into the safe paid place.
Right.
And they're like, how? What?
Yeah. Right.
Whatever. And as dumb as that sounds, the way it happens,
sure,
is
works.
kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, there are some moments, but that is the problem with this movie is it just won't decide.
Yeah.
What it wants to be, and parts of it are just totally, screwball, nonsensical, not quite airplane style things.
Yeah.
But it's like, slapstick, zany goofball. And then the next thing, we got like some serious parts happening, and it's like, the funny thing for me is there's like a bad guy character woman who like her and Nick start having like an attraction,
Yeah.
And in this movie, like if you're watching Airplane, right, I don't want character development. That's not what's happening.
I gotta tell you, it's weird when it happens in Airplane. It's actually sort of effective.
But there are parts of this movie where, and not only that, but I mean the whole movie takes place in like a day and a half, because it's all like right now. We're going from, and then they're on the run. And
sure, right.
Like this is not like a couple of weeks of anything, right? But there will be just this totally, screwy premise anyway. Then the premise gets messed up. So now we're in like a whole nother level of screwball.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we have these like breaks where it's like, but I'm in this like very serious exposition of my attraction to people or, whatever. I mean, and then like the bad guy has some whole soliloquy about this or that or whatever. And Ian McShane's in it too, and really hams the shit out of it.
Good.
But so I mean, there's stuff that's there to
That's a riot.
be passably enjoyable. But if this movie would have just picked one, right?
Yeah.
And it's too screwy just in premise to pick any kind of seriousness, right? But you could have gone, I'm the slightly more serious, where there's like a little bit of, maybe working with our goofy premise.
Yeah.
Or there's just being really goofy and going, look, this is fun, right? But you've got to pick one. You can't just keep going back and forth. It's awful.
Sometimes somebody like Ian McShane, I was just thinking of one of the worst films on our lists of parenting when Brian Cox is in. And Brian Cox is a fine actor. But he's in a bad film and he just decides to chew the scenery, just be that guy, and it makes the entire film better because he is so funny when he does it. But I had to look up when you were saying it. I couldn't remember if it was just Spy, but that's just the Melissa McCarthy film. But it's kind of, even though those films stink and they ultimately are probably a waste of time, like you're on a Greyhound or a Trailways bus or something, you're just like, I'll kill 90 minutes with this. I miss that genre of totally disposable, stupid films that are not supposed to make money. And I was stuck thinking of the Owen Wilson, Eddie Murphy film, I Spy, which is just dumb, but fun.
Right.
And it's fun because they're talented and they can make almost anything fun. But, I mean, I would watch that again.
Right.
I'm not going to go home and step over anybody to do it, but I miss that genre of films more than I think I would like to admit doing it now. But that just tells you where I'm stuck emotionally.
Yeah.
So not, I mean, 3, but really sort of, it's even a semi-forgiving 3, but really still 3.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
It's just,
Where did you see, is it?
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
Boy, that's funny.
Okay, so jumping into the actual movies.
Oh, okay.
So I think The Accountant 2, we could probably get to pretty quickly. Life of Chuck is, I think, this weekend.
It opens today.
On like real opening.
Real opening today.
But it's been out for like,
since Toronto.
Maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In like very limited.
Right.
And, if you're in New York.
Yep. Quick engagements, but opens wide today.
Or like, there. I know there have been a few like, showing it one time.
Yeah,
right. One, whatever. But
yep.
So it's been on like a very limited release or whatever, but it's opening wide. And so we will get to that. But The Accountant 2. So The Accountant 2 is like a strange movie. Ended up being a strange movie for me because I really liked the first one.
Me too.
And I like the character in a very strange way.
Yeah.
And in the first movie, like, let's not be talking about the second movie yet.
Right.
In the first movie, I really liked the character because, they were really trying to own that character and go, look, maybe not as many people will like the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do this character
right
the way that I think it should actually be done.
Yeah.
And whether that worked or not, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
To see in the movie. So just, I guess, full disclosure, I really liked the first one going in.
Yeah.
The second one is weird because, for a lot of reasons, really, but the second one is mostly weird because all through it, and then even by the time you get to the end, I just felt like, man, this was like a made-for-TV spinoff or something. Like, this whole movie just does not have the fuel reserves of the first one.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's just, it's such a weird feeling watching this movie, and it feels more like, in a way that's hard to explain and probably doesn't make any sense. It feels more like, the recent Beverly Hills Cop, where it's like coming back to something like way later.
Yeah. 35 years later, this guy's still around.
Right. And that's not what it is. Right.
Right. This is just like this feels like it's like 9 months later.
Right? Yeah. Um, but the character is still there, except the movie doesn't seem quite to care as much.
Yeah.
And I feel like even Ben Affleck is kind of in and out of where the character is now, as opposed to just being in.
Yeah.
Like when the script wants him to really be this character, then he is. And when the script sometimes goes, well, we have to move along and I don't really care anymore.
Right.
So just do whatever. Then he's like not.
Right.
It's really weird to watch. It feels like a movie where, you know, somebody else just landed on the rights somehow and went, fine, make some money because I'll kick out a sequel. So
Right. And think, I have control now. I can make the movie I wanted to see
and
with these
and
characters.
it's really weird. It has a lot of the good stuff from the first. It has its moments. It's got, it's clearly got the character. I feel like this movie locked itself into being really hard on this whole brother relationship.
Yeah.
And going, that's really what this movie's about.
Yes.
Their relationship. And then going, well, but wait, because I didn't say for that. It's not the movie I want to watch, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. At the end of the day, I thought this is not a movie that this is like Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher movie, right?
Yeah.
And imagine,
It's funny you say that.
imagine in that movie that like halfway through the movie,
Yep.
all of a sudden, all the fights became really stagey and stupid.
Right.
And you go, wait a minute, I thought I was watching this movie.
Right.
And now I'm watching this movie.
Yeah.
And this one, comparatively, for the first ones, there are like so many shootouts and stuff that are completely ridiculous. There are so many fights that are, again, really ridiculous. Like, even fairly early on in the movie, like, this is a guy who fights people for like 3 seconds at a time because that's how you fight people.
Right.
You just turn them off.
Right. Right.
And
You end the fight.
and no,
I'm not here to go
now
nine
he's
rounds.
just like, we're going, and I'm like,
Right.
well, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the end, there's like all the shooting starts.
Yeah.
You're like, now it's 18, man.
Right.
I mean, what happened there? So, a lot of the parts of the movie that I wanted because I had them in the first movie,
Right.
I feel like just got really kind of hollowed out, and I don't know, the movie felt like it didn't quite have the same budget, it didn't have the same interest in itself.
Yeah.
It was not really doing what it does, and it was, really all on board with the whole brother thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just weird. In the end, I could only give this one 5. And that's on the back of really liking the first one. So, some of that rating might just be disappointment or like my expectations. And maybe really it's like a 6 or a 7, a lot of people would say, or whatever. But man, I just could not get past 5 because it was not terrible,
Right.
It didn't go far enough that it was, really calling me stupid all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, there were a lot of fight and shootout parts that were like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And I'll tell you, the one thing is, I was actually watching this with one of my kids, who is 14.
Yep.
And by the time they get to that big giant shootout at the end, right?
Yeah.
We both suddenly had this whole conversation
Yeah.
about having these kind of action pieces in movies, right? And we both were like, you know what, man, you do not have to kill the last guy.
Right.
That is like movie trope 101, right? And it's funny to mention that now because now I think of it because that's like Jack Reacher's speech in the first fight, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to kill all the guys.
Right.
You got like 40
It's
guys.
genius.
You got 40 guys in the compound.
Yeah.
And 2 guys come in and within like a minute kill 25 guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight very many.
3 might be left. They're running. Like,
right?
hell.
They don't even really have like a stake in this.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Right.
I mean, it's so weird. Plus, they're all just staying there while the one main guy drives away. They're not staying. Come on.
Boss us out. Let's stay. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a little too far in a lot of ways, but worse because that's not what the first movie was. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not what we were trying to say.
Yeah.
With the first. So anyway, I gave it a 5.
It's funny when you were describing it too. I was reminded also of a film we did last year that I think was also on Prime. It was the Rebel Ridge one where I think we both thought it actually was very fine and pretty fun moving until it got to the really stupid ending where it was just one action set piece. And again, ignorance is bliss. The more you know about how films are made, the more you know that that's an executive note, that someone's like, we got to have a big thing at the end and you got to take on 40 people and you got to maybe get winged, but you're going to be tough and like, I need, okay, sure,
Right.
we'll do it. And that's what every film does. I also really liked the first film. I thought the chemistry between Affleck and Anna Kendrick was pretty effective, especially the way that story had to come together for them. It had a lot of purpose to tell that story, and however good that story could have been, if that only could have been a 7 for you, I felt that hit that 7. I don't think it hit 10 for me, but I had a lot of fun with it. As a sequel to the first film, I'd give this like a 3. That's not what I'll rate it, because part of that is fair. But as a film, it's got a lot of problems. It has a few fun things. It's exactly what you said to me. I don't love it or hate it any more than you. So that makes it an average movie. So it's 5 by default. I didn't dislike everything enough to take it lower than that, except that I was disappointed it didn't do more of what it should have. For all the same reasons you said that I'll try not to just mimic over and over again. But, we're of the age of video stores. It's almost like you go in and you're looking for something, you see this, and you're like, when the heck did they release this? This is a sequel. What the heck? And then you watch it, and you're like, oh, this is not a major film. Like, this is just somebody who wanted to keep the rights, somebody who just wanted to finish some part of the story. It just... The annoying thing...
Or Ben Affleck just really liked being the...
Yeah, he's like, I want to play this again. Let's keep doing this. And someone was like, well, we got June to July free. And he's like, I'm in. I actually very much like John Bernthal, and I know the argument that he basically plays the same guy isn't wholly unfair. I love when he plays that guy. He's almost always got such an interesting chemistry with whomever he's on the screen. And I'm in any scene that they're having together, whether it's an action scene together, which, even though they're in the scene together, they're not always together. But just like the bar scene, when... And it's funny, one of my bigger problems about this before we jumped, bigger film of life, The Life of Chuck, is I just didn't think that the characters that they established in the first film acted the same way in this film. Like, I don't see Affleck's character doing some of the things that he's doing, even when pushed to get out of his comfort zone by someone who could effectively push him, and you believe from what they say, arguably fight him to a standstill if it ever came to like, oh my God, Bo and Luke Duke are fighting. Like, what are we going to do? I just don't believe he'd be in those situations. So why is he in them? Well, because it will make the scene happen.
Right.
Well, it's not good storytelling, but that bar scene where he's dancing and he just even casually, he's like, oh, here comes my brother. He's going to have fun now, and the way he's walking across the bar, you automatically know, even if you don't know anything, this is not his first time in a bar. This is not his first bar fight. He's always the guy that walks out winning. There's some fun to be had in that, in the same way I can have fun with Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse to a point.
Right.
And then to that point where it's just calling me sort of like a schlep for watching more. I'm like, God, you didn't have to do that much. You just had to do enough, and then you found a way to just sort of ruin that. So I think we're both being a bit forgiving at 5, but it's one of those films. We don't do this. I had somebody ask us if we ever did this. We don't do this, but I feel like if we ever watched it and commented on it while we were watching it, I feel like it would really get lower. I think we would really be like calling things out
We
left
did
and
our
right.
own commentary.
And it's not, yeah, and it's not like, it'd be like if we were at the theater just watching a film and we had mics on and we're like, what are they doing that for? That doesn't work. 5, I think, is pretty forgivable. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did just want to throw out, and we'll move on. To your point about how they are not the same characters, I I really thought we went kind of sideways when we kept having stuff where Bernthal has to talk about himself
Yeah.
over and over.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It doesn't
that
fit.
happens, and he's like, I'm alone because I like being alone. They have this whole
Such a
conversation,
foil. Yeah.
and then it's like over and over, and kind of both of them, mostly him.
Yeah.
Like they have to justify themselves and like explain themselves
Yeah.
by just sitting there and talking and saying it,
Right.
so that later on
Right.
we can go do whatever and maybe it will make more sense. And you're like, man, that's
hard.
That's not filming.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't just sit there and explain your character so that you can justify the actions you have to take later.
In a weird way, it's going to lead into something I want to tell on the life of Chuck. It's not quite off-screen narration. Sometimes that narration between characters, when you're sitting there and you're saying stuff and you're like, you guys wouldn't even be talking about this. You're doing it because I'm watching you, and you're doing it to tell me a story that your lazy storytelling can't do otherwise. Like, all right, do it.
Yeah, all right. So, frankly, very missable. And I almost think this is a weird thing, but I think the more you like The Accountant, the less I recommend you watch this one.
Dude, I just looked at this. I didn't remember. It doesn't seem like it was 9 years ago that the first one came out.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like 4 or 5, and I went, man, they really made some weird mistakes in 4 or 5 years. It's almost 10 years between films.
And they even mention that.
Yeah.
They say it's like 8 years ago when you found me, or 9 years ago.
Come on. This is just a few weeks ago, idiots.
Yeah.
So,
you're old.
I know. That's how time works.
All right, The Life of Chuck. So, based on a Stephen King, and it says short story in the movie.
Yeah, it's from Different
like
Bleeds.
Not that short.
It's actually
really
about
more like a novella kind of.
It's about 60 pages, give or take. It's not. I mean, it's not 100 and something, but it's. If I remember right, I think it's like 50 or 60.
Anyway,
boy, that'd be wild.
Anyway, so it's based on Stephen King, and it is directed and like written
for the screen
by
Mike Flanagan.
It's like Bly House. It is Mike Flanagan.
Right.
But what I was going to say.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Is it's like the Haunting of Hill House,
right?
Bly Manor, and
Midnight Mass,
all these things. Yeah, Midnight Mass, which was weirdly good.
Yeah.
My wife is a huge fan. I'm a little hit or miss on those. Like one series
was amazing, and the other was
the next series I'll be like, yeah, I mean, okay, but anyway, Buddy's clearly huge at this point for all those things. And okay, so the story is told backwards, and it's really just the life of Chuck. Here's this guy.
Yeah.
It starts out, and I don't know, spoiler alert. But it's the first thing that happens. But it starts out, we're like watching these people and their lives, and the guy's a teacher, and it's kind of like the end of the world is coming.
Yeah.
And it's like the internet is becoming very spotty. There's all these natural disasters all over the world. And then there are all these thanks Chuck things appearing everywhere.
Ads, billboards.
And we're in this very surreal world, and massive crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And then we find out, and then Chuck dies.
Spoiler alert there.
No, and then we go backwards to Chuck's life because, like I said, the movie is backwards the life of Chuck. right? Because we go back in time the whole movie, and he gets younger. We see him like 9 or 10 months or something before he dies, and then we go back to like really childhood and the whole thing, and then he grows up. So we go forward,
Right.
again.
Right.
And in the kind of craziness you would assume that Stephen King was doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I won't really spoil things, but you kind of can't talk about any of the movie without spoiling that,
Right.
Because I
Right.
mean, the whole movie is after he's dead, so
Right.
you can't talk about it.
Right.
And what we kind of get is how a bunch of things that happened early in his life
Yeah.
really kind of led to who he is, why he is. And there is like, I guess, big hidden room spoiler.
Oh yeah, the couple
that we don't need to spoil or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
But that is the whole movie. Ultimately, it's kind of like just looking at the things that happen in your life that just kind of are you,
Make
that
you
just
you.
become you, right? And so anyway, and it's got some really cool actors in it.
Yeah.
It's Mark Hamill is in it, and I swear to God, way overly hammy in this movie for me. I feel like he was just like going. I don't know. He kind of threw me.
I think that's Mark.
But also I didn't overly love the movie.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But I really couldn't.
It's sort of a slap, just like walking by slapping somebody. Didn't really love it, so it didn't matter. But
I really could not, as much as I wanted to. It's weird because this is like my kind of movie.
yeah.
Like this is a movie that I should love. And I could not get past 6.5. I could not get 7. And I was like, come on, give me 7.
I thought you were going to be way lower than that.
Really?
Like I mean I thought, I don't mean in the 0, 1, 2 range, but I thought you might be 3, maybe 4.
Yeah. No, it had its moments, and it had stuff that I really appreciate about it, right?
Yeah.
But for the life of me, the entire time I'm watching it, it feels so much like a short story.
Yeah.
The entire time you're watching it. And what that translates into in a movie is you have to watch stuff for 10 minutes for no reason because we don't have anything else to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's like we have to have time.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's kind of long.
It
it's
is.
It's
almost 2 hours. Yeah. It's just under.
Which didn't need to be, obviously, right? But almost everything that happens in the entire movie, you watch happen for at least twice as long as you need to.
Yeah.
Because we don't have more stuff.
Right.
And Mike Flanagan's not going to go, let's make up a couple characters to eat up.
Drop a few things.
Do whatever. But stuff happens, and, there are people on the other side of this argument who are going to go, because you watch it longer, it works better and all this stuff. I'm like, no, it doesn't really. And when we're watching the universe shut down, it's like, Jesus Christ, man, I get it. Can we get there? That part goes on forever.
Yeah.
And not only does it go on forever, but it goes on forever, and then it adds like one little more thing that we have to then watch that forever.
Right.
And it just really drags. But it's like the short story in the movie.
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah.
Right. But this one has, for me, and then I won't just talk. Let you talk. But
That's great.
The one thing that has for me is like somehow kind of an opposite thing. What we say all the time.
Yeah.
Which is what we will often say about movies is that the ending is cool, but you didn't earn it, so it doesn't do what it should do.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's like you went so far past earning it that you've like unearned it again. And like by the time it happens, by the time you get to the last 20 minutes of this movie, if you can't write, you don't know anything about stories because the movie just keeps telling you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Over and over, it spells it out in like exact detail, and then it happens and you go, I mean, hooray.
Yeah.
Like you don't get anything out of the ending, which you totally should.
Yeah.
And I bet if you read a short story for 60 pages, you probably do.
Probably get it.
But in this movie, man, it ends and you just go, well, I mean, duh. Like you don't get anything out of that moment.
Yeah.
And A, I think you totally should. And B, I really did not like. It's like by that point, it's Jacob Tremblay is Chuck, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Could we not have done another couple of takes of that? Because he just seems like he goes, whatever. Like he didn't care either.
Right.
You know, he just like
they used the wrong take for that.
He just says it and goes,
whatever. There.
So anyway, that's me. But that's like actually sounds like a much worse rating. So
in our typical
kind of close.
Yeah.
But still, you know, I did appreciate a lot of it, like a lot of it, and like I said, I like the short story that's there.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I just think execution is gone off.
It's not missing, it's just off. Yeah. Not that it matters much, but it does explain one part of this, at least for me. COVID is happening a few years ago, obviously, as everyone knows, and Steve sends Mike Flanagan an advance copy of If It Bleeds, and that's where The Life of Chuck is in. And because it's lockdown for where Mike Flanagan is, he starts reading it. He's a fan of Steve's. He's got a relationship with him because he's done some films, most notably Dr. Sleep. And did a difficult thing there where he threaded the needle between Steve's book and Kubrick's film, which anybody who knows anything about The Shining knows that's hard. And Flanagan really loves The Life of Chuck. For some reason, it hits him and resonates with him in a way that nothing else has been doing. Whether or not that was the cloud of COVID and not knowing whether it was temporary or permanent, etc. The interesting thing there is he reaches out to Steve immediately and says, you know, I want this. I want to do this. I want to make this. And one of Steve's immediate reactions is sort of telling. It's like, yeah, you think there's a movie there? Because it's a small entry. It's not a movie. And over time, Flanagan, you know, he's like, yes, I do. It has affected me, and it's affected me like this. I think it will affect others, and I think they're going to sleep on the fact that it's a story. I want to bring it. And I think he eventually, after doing the screenplay, the work, the hustle, you know, and Stephen King is like, look, I don't think a lot of studios are going to back this, man. Like, I don't know how you're going to do this, but if you feel like I'm not going to stop you, but I just don't think that that's that. I'm not sure there's a movie there. It's funny thinking about all the stuff you said, and we play with this a bit too much. I should throw my rating out first. I came really close to giving it a 5, and I liked it more. I thought 5.5 might be fair, and then I don't always like the half ratings because sometimes I'm like, man, pick a side. Are you 5 or 6? I'm gonna go with 6, and I'm gonna go with 6 for one reason. The joke there is like a multitude of reasons because like the story hammers I contain multitudes over and over again. I think it's acting in good faith. I think if I had watched this film by M. Night, I would have known that his ego and his aura and his reputation and his perception of himself and his filmmaking would have made this more cynical. I know Mike Flanagan really tried to do this, and I think he tried in the best of ways to tell it. Just don't think when it works, it's fantastic. It's really fun. I think it probably doesn't work more than it works, and I think it drags it back a bit. For me personally, who's there for this? Like, I showed up and I'm like, I'm in. And as a disclaimer, I know a lot of the filmmakers involved in this. I know some of the filmmakers involved in this, so I'm a bit biased, but I'm also not trying to be overly critical to offset the bias. There's a lot of stuff in the first act that I was really loving, and it feels sort of weird because the universe is literally like on the fritz. The internet's out, and they say this in the very first few minutes. The opening scene is like California has slid into the ocean. Like Nevada is the most populated state in the United States now because people literally ran to Nevada. Um, the world is on fire and no one knows what's going on, and that mystery usually bugs me because again, if M Night had done this film, I'd be ripping it apart. If J.J. Abrams did this film with his mystery box bullshit, which is again, I don't have to tell you why things are happening. Just know that the internet's down and California's gone and there are weird fires and there are locusts and plagues and reasonably people believe the end of the world is here, which causes everyone to just sort of abandon their lives to do something else, whether they're wandering nomadically like confused because the internet doesn't work, which is a fantastic metaphor for what would really happen. People don't know how to live without their phone in their hand. Ironically, I got my phone in my hand. But there's a lot of fun stuff going there until it gets to the point where you're like, if you don't know what the story is, you're like, how are you going to explain this? You're not. It will make sense later, and it's not quite like Cloud Atlas, which I think thought itself way too clever, both as a book and as a film. It's not like Pulp Fiction, where you get things out of order. It's really told in a way to illustrate something just fundamental, which is it is the life of Chuck, not the death of Chuck. And you are supposed to understand on some level that the real value in our living together and apart is what we give to each other. You know, our communities, our bonds, our relationships, our time, our stories, those moments. And sometimes the moments can be as fleeting as walking by a busker playing some song you like, and you take a second. And instead of just going to where you're supposed to sit and have coffee for 45 minutes waiting for someone else to show up, you dance. You know, and it tells you, I see why it's affecting people positively. It reminds you, like, live in the moment, smell the roses, whatever your analogy is. And when it does that and when it works, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that dance scene. And I didn't like the dance scene for the single reason that I almost didn't like everything that is related to that throughout the whole film. If anything, the music grated on me. There's one musical track, sort of selection or style of play that plays in the background a lot. And it's a little melancholic, but it's mostly just sort of like emo positive, but it's not like techno positive. It's not like a thing. I didn't really dig the whole dance scene, not because of Tom Hiddleston. He's fantastic, and I'm blanking on the actress who dances with him. She's fantastic. I actually just didn't like the music at all. Like I thought it was not. I understood what they were trying to do, like show, and we learn earlier, later, how Chuck is able to dance so many different styles, and that's fantastic. It's revealing. It just wasn't into it. And I feel like as part of the film goes, there are three scenes you really have to be into. If you're not into it, and it's not because it's long either. That's a 15-minute scene. It's just I'm not into it. I'll try to get done quick so you can jump back in. There's a couple funny things too. I sort of think that if you remember what Top Gun, the movie, the original movie, did for naval aviators, like the Navy said that their applications went through the roof. Mark Hamill doesn't get a kickback from every accounting college on the planet. You know, this is trying to make accountants look like Maverick. Um, I'm not buying it, but that's okay. Um, Another thing that just didn't work for me was I love the guy. I love Nick Offerman. Did not think the voiceover worked in this movie. I thought most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, it just was it was just something that should have been pulled and not replaced. You know, voiceovers are really hard. There's a bunch of them out there. Barry Lyndon, Sunset Avenue, Sunset Boulevard, The Stand, Stand by Me, Mean Girls, Blade Runner. Sometimes these things work. A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story is a perfect movie. The voiceover, don't remove it. It works. Stand by Me, the same thing. Mean Girls, fine. Apocalypse Now, whatever. They don't always work. Blade Runner famously doesn't work. I didn't have anything about Nick Offerman, but I just thought that the weird voiceover was either too present or when it, because of how present it was, when it was absent, it felt awkward. I love seeing Mia Sara. I really wish she did more films.
Right.
She is so underrated as just popping up as his grandmother. Forget that she's married to Mark Hamill. That's cool. Mark's fantastic, but I think there's a big age difference there. It doesn't matter. She was so lovely, and her scenes with a younger Chuck were totally effective and just enjoyable to watch. I'm full of like weird bits of trivia, like how Tom Hiddleston sort of got the role. Like he famously danced on TikTok and on a talk show once, and Flanagan said that's Chuck because it's not that he's a great dancer. Tom Hiddleston is a good dancer. It's that when he dances, he's smiling, he's happy. He's happy expressing himself that way, and he goes, "That's who I got to get." All of these damn components, they should have made like a 7 or an 8 easy. Stuff that just doesn't work, and the stuff that doesn't work for the same reasons Cloud Atlas doesn't work. Doesn't work for the way that it's hammered over and over again. The theme of "I contain multitudes," or the theme of whatever it's. I'm not going to ruin certain aspects of it. Whatever it's trying to do in each segment, Nick Offerman comes in and really lets you know. In case you went to get popcorn, this is what you need to know. I've blathered a lot because I had a lot of thoughts about it. I think one of the things that it did ineffectively was tell me how to feel instead of just show me what it wanted me to feel.
Right.
And we criticize films for that. And if I don't criticize this for it, I'm not playing fair. It's not a bad movie, but man, it just should have been much better.
Yeah, I think
I know I threw a lot out, but that's
I think
everything.
a lot of the movie could have, and I don't want to take up too much time and go too far over on this episode, but I think a lot of what is ultimately ends up wrong with the movie is, like I said, it's too long.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not exactly doing what it thinks it's doing.
Yeah.
And then it just moves on thinking that it did that and then continues it.
Yeah.
And you're like, but no, you didn't.
Yeah.
And that too is why the ending just doesn't get it. When you get to the end, um, that should be like a serious thing.
Punch. It should be a real thing.
And it's really kind of nothing.
Yeah.
It's so empty
Yeah.
at the end that, I mean, like it's sad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
like that just doesn't work. I think the dancing went on too long, and I'll tell you for a really specific reason about all of the longness that I keep talking about.
Yeah.
I think the dancing went on too long because at a certain point, if you're going to keep having me watching the dancing, there has to be a reason for it, and there isn't.
Yeah.
The only reason for it is I want to have him dance longer. It's like watching a Marx Brothers movie where, Chico's playing the piano because I want you to watch him play the piano right now. And it doesn't serve like a purpose really, right?
Yeah.
A lot of I'm okay with Nick Offerman's voiceover.
Yeah.
Except that a lot of it does not actually serve a purpose.
Right.
It's like I don't know how the short story goes that it would kind of make sense with it maybe or something, but there is a lot of the voiceover where it's like if what he said was only this, I'd be more okay with it.
Yeah.
But then there's other parts of it where you're like, but you're just having a voiceover part here kind of because you want a voiceover part,
right?
Not because it's actually serving a purpose.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of everything that's really long in the movie. You like watch the thing happen. You're like, okay, great. So that happened. I get it.
Yeah.
And then you just have to keep watching it happen.
Yeah. Right.
For no reason. Like there's nothing actually behind it except let's just look at it more.
Yeah.
It's like if at some point in the movie, like a puppy died, right? And it's like, okay, the puppy died. let's look at the dead puppy for a really long time
Right.
and feel really bad about it for a really long time.
Right.
You're not doing anything.
While the music
You're
keeps
just
swelling.
making
Yeah.
the movie take longer. And there is so much of this. And what's weird is there are parts of the movie that are the right length.
Yeah. Perfectly.
There's a bunch of the movie where he's actually like in the dance class.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Yeah.
there's like probably 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Here's some dancing, here's the learning, here's explaining, here's we meet the other girl. Yeah. And all of that part, you're like, dude, make the whole movie like
Keep
this.
going. Right.
Like, just
right.
do what you're
working.
doing
Yeah.
and move on to the next thing you're doing. And don't make, like, if we'd have had that dance class and it was twice as long and we just watched them dance a lot, like, that's what the rest of the movie feels like. Yeah. It's just, it goes so off because, you know, like I said, it feels like you're watching a short story.
Yeah.
And somebody, you know, bought the room for 2 hours. Still has to fill it up, so they just talk slower or they say the same thing again.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
There's real quick too, because you made me think of it. I had to actually take like a couple screenshots because I had so many things I wanted to remember. One thing I almost forgot to say: Matthew Lillard is a national treasure. That dude is so much fun in any film he's in. The second is about the dancing. It's so weird how Flanagan felt that indebted to include things that just shouldn't be there. I realize if you cut something, now you're dealing with a 58-page story. But like, there's a scene in there about the dancing where where Chuck confesses to his wife about a scar on his hand, and I'm like, dude, what am I watching that for? That's fine. I know that's in the story. Oh, because it's in the story. It's in film. That's part of the and I know Mike really tried to capture what he felt.
You even have to have like an explanation for it in the movie. In the movie, you watch it happen and then listen to him explain why he said it
and why he lied about it,
why it's in it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work in the movie to have that part or that explanation because you're not doing enough other stuff that would bring the meaning even to the explanation, right? So and somehow you're not doing enough stuff. This movie that's way too long, but it doesn't come together. If you're gonna do, if you have to have that, then you have to have some other stuff that makes that worth having. Because now you're just throwing a part in. I mean, like I said, because it's there.
It's there,
and it has its meaning there in the short story.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you're just not actually delivering that just because you know, copy pasted in there. It doesn't make your story work.
Even not liking that music scene, I love the scene after when they were all sharing money and the busker is like, you know, you do what you want, you give it away. It's not mine. You know, it just that worked for me. Flanagan gets a bit of a pass, not because of his other work, and I like most of his other work. I'm with you. I'm not 50-50 on him. I still lean like I'm probably gonna like Mike Flanagan's work because I like most of it. But I believe he really came to this with love and really wanted to share what he felt when he read it and the film he saw when he read it. That goes a long way. It really is a good faith sort of, I won't say strikeout, that's too hard, but it's just sort of a good faith miss. You know, it's just it is what it is. But man, people are going crazy for it, and I would probably say, just as a small disclaimer that doesn't apply to everyone, because obviously you can't speak in totality, that if you are somebody that's suffering from some sort of anxiety from what's currently truly happening in the world, this might be a little hard for you to watch the first 40 minutes of it, because it's bleak, it's rough, it's dark, and it's not funny or compromising. Like, it may be something that you want to think about, but read some reviews, listen to us, you know, take a chance, but it's, you know, it is what it is.
All right, we got to get out of here. So thanks for tuning in, and you know, like us, subscribe on here, or wherever you're listening to this. So that's here, I guess. Actually.
Yeah, right.
Wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Thanks.
Bye.